God, it's the BC3 Amigos. We're all together.
Again.
You wouldn't know by our backgrounds.
Yeah, it's true. We are all sitting in a Courtyard Hotel in Houston, Texas. We're spread out throughout the lobby here because we get feedback if we all next to each other. So it's kind of funny. We're all here together, and we're all together to, obviously, tomorrow we're going to be at a local regional Texas regional Doug event. We're all speaking at it. So we thought, what a great way to get together and do the BC3 Amigos. Look, go to this side, no, that side, this side, that side, oh, whatever it is, over there, over here, to be the BC3 Amigos. And we thought today would be kind of fun because it's been a hot topic these last several months. And it's about Copilot AI stuff in Business Central. So we thought, what
I care for it.
Yeah, I mean, Rob's going to be the negative Nelly today, and he's going to talk about how he feels about Copilot, and we're going to go around the horn just talking about it and seeing what's new in Business Central, and then also maybe kind of like ponder where should it go? Maybe places that they really need to think about it. So we figured we're going to let Kim begin because she's got a couple of hot topics she wants to talk about, and then we'll just keep going around.
So Bank Rec with Copilot, I like. It's got a much better way of matching what's on my bank and what's in Business Central. It's much more effective. It will also take 2 entries in the bank and match them to 1 entry in Business Central, which wasn't something you could do before. You can match multiples in BC with 1 in the bank, but not the other way around. So that's solved. It also adds the ability to do mapping for charges that come through every month. So maybe your rent gets auto-deducted from your bank account. Rather than having to transfer that to a general journal every month, the system just sees it, knows what to do because you've done a mapping, and just posts it and auto-reconciles it. Pretty cool. Downsides. What if they charge you twice for rent? Doesn't really catch that. It's going to record it twice. I can't do bank-to-bank mapping, which would be nice, right? I see it come in from this bank. I know what journal entry to make. That's not there, at least in version 24. So I don't have to use Copilot with Bank Rec. Let's do the standard Bank Rec, which is fine. But I think it's a really good tool.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree. The Copilot in the Bank Rec probably has taken the North American Bank Rec to a whole nother level. I mean, Bank Rec's worldwide, don't get me wrong here. But the things that we've had to do Bank Rec back in the NAV days to even the original BC 14 days, and where it stands today, it's night and day. There's no more point and click. You know how you had to go clear until you're blue in the face. And then it was like, oh, gee, what do I do with these extra entries? They're not in my Bank Rec. Oop, let me bounce out, bounce back in, refresh, and on and on and on. I think it's the coolest thing. I think it is, in my opinion, top notch right now. It can get better. I do want to see more ability to, if they see a transaction that is in 2 bank accounts, I would love to see it do both entries if it's missed, like go between banks and do entries that cross posting, I'll call it, and stuff like that. And the other thing that I would love for it to do is, obviously, for me, the reporting is good because the outstanding checks and deposits are the most important thing for the future. But if it sees, I think one thing I'd like to see is when it sees a outstanding check or deposit that has gone longer than a reasonable amount of time, I would love for it to maybe call it out in a color possibly on the screen that says this has been outstanding 45 days or more and was a deposit, what the heck happened to my money? Or things like that. But because that way I can be reactive to it than to address it with the bank or somebody. So that was me. But Rob, what do you think?
I'm glad y'all have some functionality that Copilot actually helps you with. I'm getting tired of all these new features that they're going to be putting in, Copilot here, Copilot there. And one of the things that frustrates me is, as a veteran of the software and as a former end user, I want to make sure my workers know what they're supposed to be doing before they say, hey, Copilot, go do this for me. And one of the things I hate is how I might want to be looking for help. I already know what I'm looking for. And damn Copilot pops up and says, oh, what do you want to do? And I'm like, no, you shouldn't be activated until I say, hey, Siri, pop up and tell me what I want to do. So I want it to be voice activated or something that you do specifically before it actually pops up. And, the other thing that here's something that really gets me. Now that I'm an MVP and I can say, hey, these are some great ideas for our product development team. They don't have time for all these great ideas because they're busy putting Copilot in here and Copilot in there. What are we getting now? Maybe 3 or 4 or 5 functional pieces, but we're getting Copilot everywhere. And I'm like, I don't want Copilot everywhere right now. I want functionality. Okay, let's do something here. Let me give you one very specific thing that we've been talking about. We need to have service where you can go in a posted service invoice and say, I want to copy this into a credit memo and I want to post it and reverse it. That's a basic functionality throughout the system, but it doesn't happen in service, and we're too busy with Copilot right now. So I'll leave it for you guys to talk more about Copilot for a moment. Then I'll come back and say more.
That's
stuff.
fair. I know when I go in and click help, right, I don't want Copilot to come up with all these suggestions, ask me what I want to do, and then I have to find another little line that says, I want help, right? So it will take me to the help. I feel like I have to ask for help twice to get to anything. So I really don't like how they integrated Copilot with help. I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah, I think...
Exactly.
Don't get me wrong. People go to help for obvious reasons. I am not a fan of it either. I'd rather help give me what I want back. And I guess if I wanted Copilot, I wish there was just more of a button that says, would you like Copilot to take it further? And you click it and then let it go crazy if you want. But the fact that it's so integrated, like out of the box immediately, it becomes almost like a nuisance sometimes, because remember, people who are advanced users, I can understand who can get around this and stuff like that. But your novice user, which is really the norm, our average user, probably doesn't need it for now. Maybe down the road it might, or it might not. But the other piece is, when you think of Copilot overall and where it's kind of putting itself, for instance, under item card, you've got the marketing text. So you can go in there and ask Copilot, hey, Copilot, make me the sweetest, coolest, craziest marketing text that I can put on my website. Okay, great. I'm sure it'll go out, and with the notion of Copilot, and it'll go out and create probably the most wildest marketing text I could put on a website. Sounds good, because maybe I'm not the greatest marketing text person, because I'm too bland. But that's good. But for me personally, I can think of better areas it should be more interactive with. That hasn't been touched upon. I think, like Rob said, I would rather see more functionality, but if you're going to put Copilot everywhere, why not touch upon, for instance, maybe Copilot can get into the planning worksheets and do some historical planning for it. Why not use that engine? Or maybe I want to do allocations in warehousing, where I want to go out and say, hey, Copilot, look at all my orders. Who's my top customers, and maybe make some reservations along the way. Now, remember, obviously, there are apps that do some pretty cool things nowadays, but what if Copilot can compare your sales engine or sales history of a customer and allocate who should be first, second, third on its own without even you telling it? Why not, right? So I think there's some pretty cool stuff. But I know there's other areas. I know, Kim, you've been dabbling in some new features, other places that a Copilot has been attacking.
Well, I'm going to keep with your trend on a place I'd like to see Copilot, and that's it with the feature GL Review, which I think is a really cool feature. It needs some update. I'd like to be able to run or filter and look up, reconciliation as of the end of June, right? And all the things that I marked off as that have the debit and the credit, right? I would like to be able to invoke Copilot to suggest matches, right? Kind of like we suggest matches in BankRec, but I want to match my debits and credits on this GL account for GL review. I think that would be really make that GL review much more usable. Because as much as I like the idea of it when it came into the product, I'm not really finding it's got a real functional value for end users.
Well, Kim, you talk about Copilot for that stuff, but I don't like the fact that they put the Copilot button right there to the left of the entries. When you're looking at like fixed assets or fixed asset ledger entries or GL entries, Copilot is right there on the left. I want to use the analyze mode, and sometimes I click it. They look so much similar. I don't want Copilot near the functional stuff. Put it off to the right where you want help. Put it over there. Get it out of my way. Or let me customize and get it off the page.
Have you used it there? Have you?
Where? Like Copilot? I've used the analyze mode.
No, but have you used Copilot there?
No, because I have not. I'd like to build my own. See, that's the thing. Analyze mode is still a new thing. I want to work it my way and see what it does. I don't care what Copilot can do. I want to know what I can do.
But
that's an important
Copilot
piece here.
will build analyze views for you. But that's kind of one of the...
I don't want users to get lazy. Users are going to get lazy. They need to understand what it's doing.
I don't disagree that users need to understand. But I do think that for a lot of users, if they can ask Copilot to build at least a rough draft of an analyzed view, and it's going to show all the things that it did on the side to build the analyzed view, now I can go, oh, I don't want that. I want to add this. And so I've learned how to use analyzed views because Copilot helped me.
I still hope that they understand the concepts of what they're building.
No, I agree. No, I totally agree. I just think because it's new and because a lot of people don't know how to use it, including all of us and many others, we're still novices, right? And so we do need help. And I think that's where Copilot can help those areas a bit.
Yeah, I'd like to see it. I'd like to see them revisit that whole area. I mean, I'm also a novice. I really don't use it a lot yet because I don't really know what I would want to do with it yet because I think that's the problem. I really haven't thought about it hard enough to say, what would I use this for? What would I not use this for? And Copilot would be pretty cool. I like the idea, Kim, you said, and Rob, I think you mentioned it a little bit, but it's more like if I was going to analyze a GL account and I would rather me enter a Copilot statement, like let's say I want to analyze an account. And the first thing that would happen is the Copilot would pop up and says, what would you like me to do? And I like the idea of saying, I need to audit, accrued payables. And I want you to find me every entry over blah, 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 or something, make a statement and say, go find me these entries, or go find me an entry I forgot to reverse. I don't know, something weird, something that, but again, I'm thinking out loud but I'd like to see it get more involved with that because I don't know what's the purpose of it there when you really think about it. If I'm an auditor, I'm going to look at entries, I'm going to audit. If I'm an accounting person, and I need to analyze. And yeah, I can analyze things, but what would I use Copilot for? I mean, I haven't really figured it out yet. So maybe it's one of those screens where can you remove it temporarily and then add it back later on when I check a box that says I want to use this feature or something? I don't know, but I mean, it's kind of like where I'm saying when I think of the planning worksheet in manufacturing, and I think of MRP and MPS, and I think about BC out of the box doesn't really get involved with history. It doesn't really look at history, or it doesn't look like it has a forecast module in the sense of forecastability. But when I say to it like, hey, Copilot, go look at the last 18 months, look at all my sales, and look at all my trends as possible, and tell me based on the current MRP or MPS if I should change anything based on any item. And again, I'm using that in a very broad statement right now. But what a cool idea. And we know it's available today. A lot of the app providers are using AI and they're using that in their own software. So why not out of the box make it happen? You'd think, why not? Because, even Microsoft today is getting more and more involved with other areas. They're bringing some software back into the mix versus using apps and everything. So I think it's pretty cool. But
well, I'll give you a good idea. Okay, if Copilot is so good, let's build a sales campaign for my slowest moving items. Hey, Copilot, build me a sales campaign, and I want to target the customers who've previously purchased that. Now, go.
Rob, I mean, that's a perfect example. I think one of our issues is that we're all uncomfortable with how to ask Copilot for what we want. And the more we get used to doing that and making those request statements succinct and direct for what we want, we're going to get better at using Copilot. I will tell you something that's not Copilot related, but I have to bring it up because I'm enamored with it right now, and that is the automation of customer reminders. You know, I've been doing now for almost 3 decades at BC, and I don't have anybody who used reminders, right? I've shown a couple of people, but most people just didn't find the need. And then along came this automation, and it's so good. I use it in my company, have it run once a week, and it generates a reminder statement. And I've got 3 levels saying, "Hey, you missed this." Second one's, "Please pay this." Third one is, "Come on, I need your money." And I can tell it to attach all the unpaid invoices. So they don't have to call me up and say, "Well, I didn't pay that because I don't have a copy." It's right there in the email. The email automatically goes. I can also send them a list of everything else that's outstanding and attach all of those invoices. I mean, it's better than a statement, and it's totally automated, and the setup is easy. So they are adding some good stuff, Rob. Maybe not your service correct piece, which they really should add. But in addition to Copilot, we are getting some good stuff. And I think we have a long way to go with Copilot. Guys, a year ago, we sat here and we said, I don't know what Copilot's going to do for me. Can you see something now? I'll ask Steve. Rob's going to.
I'm still waiting.
I mean, you know, I will say you're right, because a good year ago, the 3 of us were sitting here when the word Copilot was first introduced to all of us for the very first time, and we started laughing. I think we all 3 laughed, like, this is useless. What's it really going to do? It's not going to, not going to do anything. And the marketing text thing came out, and we're like, okay, I get it. But again, what is Copilot going to do for a warehouse worker? What is Copilot going to do for a shop floor person? What is AI going to do for an accounting person, or a payables or a sales order entry clerk who sits there and does collections or credit management? I mean, I think it's still in its infancy, but I can see so many things now that they've branched out a little bit, and I know they're listening to us and they're talking to us, and they're trying to know where it goes.
So let's have it do automatic interactions. Hey, Copilot, I just called this contact to get a collection call. Please record that. Or, hey, Copilot, I just started an opportunity. Please put in an interaction.
Thank you. Because there's a lot of background noise where I'm at. There's something on sales orders where now you can type something. Is it Copilot? I can type a description that I don't really know, and it'll suggest the items for me. Is that true?
Yes. On the sales order lines, there's a way to invoke Copilot. You can actually type on it, like, for instance, I would like to buy 5 bicycles, 3 bells, 2 seats, a computer, a coffee pot, and everything else in the Kronos database, and a partridge in a pear tree. And it actually will insert the lines for you in the proper item number, the quantity, and of course the location, that you have set up on the header. So it will work. It does a great job. But then I said to myself, when I first saw that feature come about a year ago, I said, wait a minute. Most people who do order entry do one of 2 ways. Forget about EDI, because that's a separate system. I'm either going to normally people who are repetitive buyers will copy document, so don't need to type. So scratch that. Some people who send you an email saying, I want these 5 items, I can type the 5 items faster than I can type a sentence or 2. So again, where would I use this? Again, putting myself in the shoe of the user, when would I use this?
Unfamiliar users, new users. They're not familiar with your product line. Maybe they're not that great a typist. They one finger it, that kind of thing. But I do think that the breadth of users is small, right? And so I think, Rob, I'm going to ask you, can you do any of that in service orders? They don't have that Copilot feature there, do they?
No. And by the way, I don't know that I really want it, because again, that is such a, how do I want to say it, product specific thing where, it might be something I don't sell, and I need my call taker to know what's going on. You're not selling me on, I want that basic person to understand the functionality. And by the way, just because I put in that I want a coffee table doesn't mean I'm going to get the right coffee table.
It's funny. I look at AI and I think of service, because we're talking about service a lot lately, because, and then I realized one thing, and I thought about this, and I know this is going to sound far-fetched, but I want to see Rob's face. So we're going to watch Rob's face right now. So what if I had AI and I called in a service ticket, I'm the customer on the phone, and I typed the exact verbiage, or somehow it matched the verbiage the customer said on the phone, like, my washer and dryer is sparking and my clothes smell like yuck, and it came back with the fault symptom kind of thing. And then I see he's smiling because he knows. So, it's possible.
Well, I'll wait. Okay, but that's what is it? We need to have better verbal recognition or voice recognition. And one of the things that AI, here's the shortfall of that. Specifically, it's my computer and it knows my language. Now, I'm here in South Texas, but if I'm speaking to somebody who's calling in from Boston, I have no idea what the hell they're saying, and I don't know that Copilot's going to know what they're saying.
Okay, that was good. Oh my God. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I should say, and vice versa. If you call Boston, they're not going to understand you either.
That was with.
I'm right here.
It's
right here.
broken.
I need it. Right here.
That's what I would say. But I mean, it's funny. We've been talking about Copilot and AI and where it could be or where it couldn't be, and I know there's so many more places I think Microsoft are thinking about. And I'm sure we're going to see more features in the next release in October. I'm sure next year in 2025 we'll see more and stuff like that. So I think it's going to be fascinating. But I mean, when we think of Copilot, I mean, is it too much? Like, are we trying to use Copilot everywhere so much now we're losing sight of like some of the basic requests that are like the basic requests of functionality that are out there that people submit, like, can the system do XYZ or something here? I'm not throwing out a perfect example, but are we really just trying to almost go to Copilot to be a crutch, and it's just overwhelming, and that we're putting too much dev time into it when we really should be like splitting it up, like, let's do these things that are real functionality, and then we'll do a little bit of Copilot, and then but keep hammering on the features and functionality that it really needs and stuff like that. So I'm kind of wondering, maybe it is too much. I don't know.
That was my argument at the beginning. We're not getting enough functionality in this next wave. It's all Copilot, baby.
I hope that's not true. But from what I've seen, it kind of looks like it. And I do think Microsoft has to be careful with that, right? We still have to add functionality. Then we can take that functionality and do some more automation with Copilot. That's what we really want to do. The functionality base is there, and then we improve upon that with Copilot, right? But if it's not there to begin with, Copilot can't improve upon it because functionality that doesn't exist yet. So it's a fine line, and I know Microsoft overall is very Copilot focused, but they can't lose sight of ERP functionality.
It'd be nice to see them. When you really think about think of all the departments in a company. I mean, and where Copilot might or might not help. Is it going to help in credit and collections? I mean, I think maybe I'd have to really, really, really think about it. I mean, that's crazy. Is it really going to help on the manufacturing floor? I mean, you're not going to put together, washers and dryers, but maybe you can help with planning. In the warehouse, you're not going to run around picking things because you're a human being. You pick. I know I'm a human being. I pick. So what's it really going to help me with? Where is AI going to play into this? And I think that's really where they need to step back and say, where is AI really going to help versus not help? And I think it's fascinating the fact that there are things it can do. I mean, in the sense that maybe it can help with certain setups or maybe some very broad stroking ideas. But I mean, think about some of what all three of us have been through in the last 3 decades of using the software. I mean, where else am I going to want to use it? I mean, I get the bank rec. It's cool and pretty slick. I love it. I get, I understand why they were trying to do the sales line insert because people like to type things versus line, things like that. I get it a little bit, but, I don't know. I'm trying to think, like, other than the things we've all mentioned, all three of us mentioned, maybe we can come up with ideas. But I mean, I think.
Well, Steve, you mentioned that you get an email and they want certain items. With the insights that we've got now, the Outlook and BC Insights, you ought to be able to create that quote right from that email if you've got the right, setups. And so
you can't you? Can't you do that now?
You can with the right setups. So you don't even need to type it.
So
that eliminates that.
I'm just kind of curious, like, what else can we think about to use AI where I feel good about it? I mean,
Well, again, accounting would probably, I'm the negative guy here, but, I think accounting could use it to build maybe an analysis view. We were talking about that the other day, maybe, I've got all of these different dimensions out there. I need to see something. Build me a pivot table or something. And how do I do that? Because, again, I could probably build it, but it'd take me forever.
That's a cool idea when you think about it.
I'm going to go back, though, and say I think part of it is us learning how to ask Copilot for what we need, right? Because there's a lot of stuff it can already do along those lines. And users really, I think we have too many users who know how to get the job done, and then they don't know how to analyze anything. Where somebody called the other day and they wanted sales by state.
Yep.
In a time frame, and I said, well, go to your posted sales invoices, filter on a posting date, sell to state or ships to state, which do you want, filter on them, drop them to
the credit memos.
Yes, and then you want to add in credit memos too, right? But that logic from the customer is missing. And I don't know how we bridge that gap.
I think that's so cool. I'm actually kind of intrigued what you just said, Kim. I'm so intrigued now. What if you actually ask Copilot, check this out. So you're in the middle of, say, you're wanting to do something, and Copilot let's put Copilot, give it a little more power. So maybe you bring up Copilot, and you're on a bank account card, and you say to Copilot, I want to void check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Please void it and reinstate the payable. And that's it. You just stop, click go, and it does it for you. Or like you just said, hi, Copilot, I need to do a sales analysis this month, this year to date, and last year. And I want you to compare my main GL sales accounts, 4,000 to 4,099 or something. I'm making it up. Please go and do a quick little pivot table, and please place it in Excel for me. Thank you. Goodbye. And it just, poof, it does it. I mean, I know people would say, go to Power BI and do that. I mean, because Power BI is very powerful. But what if you can just let it do for some basic, like simple verbal commands? I hate saying it's like a robot, but I mean, I'm thinking of it like simple verbal command. Go do X. Like go to posted sales invoice, 82122 and run correct because I got to fix it. And just simple things that just let it go do it. And then it spits you're sitting on the screen for the new sales invoice to go type in the new numbers or something like that. I mean, just something simple where you freak out over it.
But to Rob's point, you need to know how to do those things. If you don't know how to do those things, right, then are you sure you didn't need to cancel versus correct? Did you need to do a corrective credit memo or a cancel? Or,
True.
that knowledge, and I'll go back to asking Copilot to do an pivot table analysis, right? Because the data isn't in one dataverse, which I could see if you had all the data in one spot and it was flattened and all of that, but it's not, right? And I don't think our users get trained on that enough. They get trained on how to get the work done, get the work done, and then they don't know how to go back and retrieve the data and analyze it. They don't even know necessarily where to go, which is why Power BI is never really taken off. It's why there's no reporting tool out there that's really the gold standard, because in order to use any of them, you got to know where the data comes from. I actually agree with you, Rob.
So Kim, but you mentioned something else. The training is so critical because turnover these days is phenomenal. And, it's like, oh, I got somebody's notes. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten a client, they say, hey, can you help us? So-and-so used to do this job and we have no idea what she did. And we've been doing it now and we've been doing it now for 3 months. And, it's like, wait a minute. Did you do this? No. What's that? It's like people have to understand that these are automated systems that, things just go on. And just because you don't know how to do it, somebody's going to do something and it's going to post something. So training is critical here.
It's true. I mean, we're sitting, all three of us are sitting here for the last 30 plus minutes. And we've been talking about, Copilot and where it's good, where it's bad and crazy things. But I still think it goes back to the same thing. Training, because if you don't know the system, you're not going anywhere anyway, because you won't know what to do. B, I guess there's more places Copilot can touch upon that might help, might not help, or maybe there's many possibilities. And C, I mean, I still think it goes back to what I think Rob said right out of the gate, which is I'd rather see more functionality than more Copilot for now. I mean, over the next several years, I'd like to see more good, beefy things in the functionality space than maybe a little more Copilot, because I really can't. I mean, I think we need some things we're just missing, and they're just some basic things we're missing, and we need to get them there, because I think, these are the fun things that I think functionality wise we need. And Copilot can wait. I mean, it's not going anywhere. Let me put it like that. I mean, it'll always be there.
But let's be realistic. Microsoft's not going to wait. So the best we can hope for, I think, is some kind of balance between new features and Copilot, right? And I think it's up to the MVPs and the user community to get that point across, to when they're talking to their users, when they're talking to partners, or you're talking to ISVs, MVPs, listening to the users and bringing that story back to Microsoft and say, we like the ideas, but I'm a service company and I need these things in service to really help, right? It's hard. I know it's hard to draw that equality, but hopefully, Rob, the next wave is not all Copilot, that we do get some functionality in there. I think we will. On another thing too, it's not just functionality in Copilot, it's reporting. Everybody's still reporting, right? And I know that's a focus for Microsoft. So now we're talking about trying to juggle three things. I can only hold up two hands. I can't juggle it all. But so it's a tough road. I get it. So striking that balance, but functionality to me should drive everything else.
Agreed.
Agreed. I mean, I think it's very truthful, because I think we're going to see some cool stuff in the next release. I think we are there. I mean, obviously they've sent out enough hints, I think, over social media about what's coming down the pipe. I mean, we all know about the more Power BI stuff that we're getting. That's very public knowledge that, there's going to be an extensive BC Power BI push this next release again. And there's other things that I've in the final stages, I guess, or they're in the midst of beta. I'm sure doing beta and whatever they're doing. But I mean, I hope that in 2025 there's that, like you said, there's that balance, Kim, where it's like let's get these major functionality votes in, and then we'll do a little AI over here, maybe in one area that they've gotten input on that says, okay, it works over here, but it doesn't work over here. Or maybe we should talk about it over there and stuff like that, because, I mean, we're just talking out loud. And I was actually pretty excited about that service thing. And I'm sitting there going, I'd love to see, like, I mean, especially when you give them portals, because remember, some of our ISVs offer portals. What if I'm the customer going to log in a ticket and I could type in in a more of a chat GPT way, my problem, for which the portal will spit back the symptom and the resolution to let them go do the work before it finally gets to having to go to do a service ticket in service. Now, granted, Rob's not happy because he's not going to have to make a service order, but I mean, and stuff like that. But
hey, wait a minute. The service companies want to cut out as many service jobs as they can because they really want to focus on what really needs to be fixed. If I forgot to plug in my refrigerator, I don't want the tech going out there and coming out and saying, oh, you forgot to plug this in. That's why you're not getting ice. We want to stop those calls. By the way, I know something besides service,
But Rob, what they are giving is a service, and that type of service, right? Not that they're going out there, but they're solving the issue. That's a feather in their cap, because people will say, "Oh, they didn't even have to come out. I just logged onto the,
save me money.
Give the spiel," and people go, "Really? Wow! I'm going to call them next time I need something." So it does drive revenue, just not on that service ticket.
Repeat business. We're looking for repeat business.
Yeah, I think we're just getting started, guys. There has been a big change in the last year. I thought I would never be interested in Copilot, and here I am, kind of rah about BankRec. Some people don't like it. That's okay. Some people don't like CRM, Rob. Right? Some people don't like other pieces, but I'm excited about what we have there. I think some of your suggestions about things for CRM with Copilot are pretty cool. In manufacturing, it's a place that people are just kind of scared of, and they don't use MRP or any of the planning completely. And I think that's a great place that Copilot could help make the system shine, make it do more for the user, and that's really what we're all about.
Well, Kim, that would be a good thing. Steve, I know you're big on the manufacturing side. A lot of companies don't even know about the planning worksheet. They may not be manufacturers, but they don't know about the planning worksheet. And maybe if they could ask Copilot, hey, should I use the rec worksheet or should I use the planning worksheet? Give them some information about that.
That's a great idea. What if Copilot...
Hey, Copilot, what's the difference between this replenishment policy and this replenishment policy?
Why not education and training? I mean, think about it. What if you just let Copilot... It knows all of BC. So think about it. It's got this giant BC engine in its head. And you asked a very simple question like, hi, I just bought an asset and I'd like it to depreciate fast. What depreciation method should I use? Or, hi, I want to add an item and I want it to, and it's a serialized item. So, and I, every time I make it, sometimes the cost changes. So what's the best costing method for me to use on an item card? I mean, think about just the basic statements that it could spit back an answer for you to fill in a blank or something. That's so cool. That's the coolest idea.
It really is. Like I said, I think we're just getting started with where all this is going to go over the next couple of years. So it's kind of exciting.
Well, we are at the point where we normally end our session here. We definitely have been chatting about Copilot AI and how it's been involved with Business Central, where it's going in Business Central, and the good, the bad, and the ugly. Let's just think about it. We're in Texas, so we're going to say the good, the bad, and the ugly. Yeehaw! That's my Boston yeehaw right there. For Kim and Rob here, I'm doing my yeehaw. Didn't wear that cap like Rob does, but we are really excited about where Copilot's headed, obviously, because there's more to come. We're super excited about the fact that we're getting into our fall season. We're moving here into September. I cannot believe Labor Day is literally a week, this weekend away, and we are then going to go into conference season. So we are super excited to see everybody at, whether we go to Days of Knowledge in September, the 13th and 14th in Atlanta, Georgia. Kim, what other conferences are coming up? And Rob, what other conferences are we going to be seeing people at?
Summit in October in San Antonio.
So we got
Academy classes before that.
No.
And to tell you what, that registration is going up. So people can't wait to register for classes. And what's after that? I guess that's EMEA, which is really for partners, right? And then what
EMEA.
else?
Road shows.
Road shows. Indianapolis in November and back here in Houston in December.
There's a new conference too. What's that?
In December, Engage. Engage is in the middle of December.
Tampa area, right?
St. Petersburg, Florida. First time ever. It's a new conference. They'll be speaking about different products, so you get a little feel for all the products again. It's bringing back kind of the old, I call it the old convergence style of a conference, where it's a little different, but it's got flavor throughout. It's a really, excuse me, a good conference to attend. And if you go to Engage 2024, you'll see the agenda that's popping up there already.
Oh, okay.
And you can avoid some early snow.
Come down for it and let it snow up in the north.
Thanks a lot. So I'll come down to Florida so it can not snow while it's snowing back at home. So that'll be good for me. But yeah, we've got our fall conferences, and next month in September, the BC3 Amigos, of course, will be getting together. We'll bring one of our an outside external participant into our mix. So we'll bring somebody new and special. We're trying to think of a good topic or a good group of either a partner, an ISV, or maybe even Microsoft, possibly. Ooh. We can invite some of our friends in.
Maybe we could try to do something at Days of Knowledge. I hear Microsoft's going to be there.
Oh, possibly, yeah. We can do a quick little, recording. We got some Days of Knowledge product managers over there.
We can talk about Copilot.
Yeah, we can talk about Copilot again. And then you'll probably see us do our BC3 Amigos definitely at Summit. We always like to do it there. You'll see us broadcast live at Summit. So we'll do one of our conference, meetings up there. We'll give you like the update of Summit each day or something, and we'll have some fun doing that. So, other than that, gang, I think that's it from Houston, Texas. Though of course, the football team needs help. That's my throwing that out there. Though the Jets have,
Wait, which one? There's a lot of football teams in Texas.
Yeah, and by the way, Steve, how many quarters is Aaron Rodgers going to be available for this year?
I think he's going to be available for at least a dozen, but that's about it. Maybe I'm only kidding. But yeah, we've been, preseason 3 wins, buddy. I don't know. I mean, looking pretty good. Monday Night Football is, coming around the corner. So that Monday Night Football game is the Jets. So we'll see what happens.
Oh, my.
So... All right, gang. So that's it from Houston, Texas. We say goodbye and see you next month. Have a good one, everybody.